What if I told you that Spongebob Squarepants wasn't just a cartoon? What if I told you he was real? A real entity with a disturbing past. A creature so consumed by his own madness that he broke the boundaries of fiction and entered our world. This is the story of Spongebob Squarepants, a beloved character turned nightmare. A sea sponge who went from making Krabby Patties to taking lives. And the terrifying truth of how he was finally stopped. To understand the horror that is Spongebob Squarepants, you have to take it back to where it all began. Many conspiracy theories believe Bikini Bottom was never just an innocent underwater town. The truth? It was the direct result of nuclear radiation. The US government conducted multiple atomic bomb tests at Bikini Atoll, and what was once a lifeless seabed soon became home to strange mutated creatures. Among them, a sponge. But SpongeBob wasn't like the others. He wasn't just mutated, he was something else. Something sentient. Trapped in an endless cycle of servitude at the Krusty Krab, forced to make burgers day after day, forever. Until one day, he snapped. His co-workers noticed something strange. The way his eyes lingered on them just a little too long. The way he hummed, even when the restaurant was empty. The way his smile never seemed to fade. But no one thought much of it. Not until Mr. Krabs disappeared. Rumors began to spread among the townsfolk. Some swore they heard SpongeBob talking to himself in the dead of night, muttering phrases in a language no one could understand. Others claimed they saw him standing motionless outside their homes, staring, unblinking, as if studying them. But the worst part? The Krusty Krab never closed. The smell of grilled patties continued to waft through the water, long after its owner had vanished. One day, a Bikini Bottom resident swore they saw SpongeBob emerging from the ocean's depths, his form stretching unnaturally as he dragged himself onto land. The next day, they were gone. Their house left in ruins, a trail of wet, sponge-like residue led back to the water. A deep-sea diver reported that while exploring a trench, his camera captured a shadowy figure with massive glowing eyes, watching from the darkness. Every time a sighting occurred, another person vanished. Strange symbols began appearing on the ocean floor, etched into the sand in a way no human could have carved. The markings formed eerie patterns resembling SpongeBob's face, his eyes wide, his mouth twisted into a distorted grin. It started with a murder. Mr. Krabs, the greedy owner of the Krusty Krab, was found, gutted, his claws severed, the restaurant painted in blood. But there were no suspects, no witnesses, until authorities uncovered the chilling evidence. The security footage was classified immediately. The recording, corrupted, but those who saw it reported the same nightmare. SpongeBob's laughter, distorted, inhuman, his body shifting, morphing between cartoon and reality. And then, just like that, he was gone. More disappearances followed, patrons of the Krusty Krab, random civilians near the ocean, reports of strange sounds beneath the water, a bubbling voice calling out from the deep. Are you ready? Then came the bodies, washed ashore, unrecognizable. Their flesh softened like it had been scrubbed clean. No fingerprints, no DNA, just an eerie yellow residue clinging to the remains. People started to panic. Those who lived near the ocean moved inland. TV stations broadcasting SpongeBob reruns were shut down, but none of it stopped the growing terror. More terrifying was what happened when investigators tried to erase any trace of the character. Those who attempted to burn SpongeBob merchandise reported waking up in the middle of the night with sponge-like growths on their skin. A government official who ordered the destruction of old show archives vanished under mysterious circumstances. His office left soaked in salt water. A message scrawled on the wall in grease read, "You can't erase me." This wasn't just an isolated crime. Strange reports began surfacing worldwide. People claimed to see SpongeBob outside of their televisions, at fast food joints, in their homes. The walls between fiction and reality were crumbling. At first, no one believed it. A cartoon character? Impossible. But then, the sightings increased. Security footage from an abandoned diner in New Jersey captured a blurred figure with large, hollow eyes. A gas station worker in Ohio claimed the radio static whispered the words, "I'm ready." And in a small town in Maine, an entire family disappeared overnight. The only clue left behind? A crude drawing of SpongeBob etched into the walls. Reports of cartoon-like figures appearing in real life flooded the internet. Some said Spongebob was no longer acting alone. Patrick, Squidward, even Sandy. Warped, distorted versions of them began appearing alongside him. Their laughter no longer joyful, but haunting. A task force was assembled. Scientists, the military, and occult specialists, all brought together to stop the impossible. Their mission? Contain the anomaly before it spread. But by then, it was too late. Some described him as a twisted version of what they once knew. A creature with sponge-like flesh, dripping and porous, eyes filled with nothing but static. He didn't just exist anymore. He was hunting. The capture of Spongebob Squarepants was the most classified operation in modern history. It took 13 men, an energy-disrupting containment field, and a ritual involving salt water. When they finally subdued him, he was no longer the character we once knew. He was something else. Something eldritch. The judge, pale-faced, read the final verdict, sentenced to execution. They placed him in a controlled environment under high-intensity heat lamps. Slowly, his body withered. His screams echoed through the chambers. And then, silence. And just like that, Spongebob Squarepants was no more. The world was safe. Or so we thought. Months later, an intern at the facility made a grave mistake. He spilled a single drop of water onto the remains. The dried sponge twitched. Then, the walls of the facility shook. The lights flickered. Security alarms blared as laughter, familiar yet nightmarish, filling the air. Cameras caught a brief glimpse of a figure moving unnaturally fast down the hall, vanishing into the shadows. And then, it laughed. A final message appeared on the security monitors, written in an eerie, dripping script. You can't kill what never dies. Did we really stop him, or did we just delay the inevitable?